Honey Bear by Faith Jones. Read by Flannery Maney. I can't have been more than a youngster of 7 when I first found him. I say first because Honey Bear had a habit of getting lost for a few years and then tramping back out of the witchwood like some old rare penny.
You can't go into the marriage agency, darling. That's for big girls,
he told me. I was about level with his shoes in those days, so that was the first thing I remember. They had a tag on them that said, Miracle Everlasting Rubber Company. So I guess those fellers went bust years ago, but their shoes are always somewhere tapping about town today, still working. That and the man's voice, I remember. A deep peg-leg roll with an earthly gravity to it, like 5-year logs bouncing down the tailgate of a wagon. I want to get married, don't I?
There's plenty of time for that.
Where are you from, mister?
I'm from round these parts now, but when I was your age, I came from Haiti on a little wooden boat with a blue sail. That's way down in the Caribbean Sea.
He had a way of painting pictures in your head. Pictures that sang or swam or changed how you were feeling.
Me by we should find your folks. Where'd they go to?
Try Blossom Hill Cemetery. Lots 140 and 141 in the Garden of Rest, I said sourly.
When the big bout of flu come round?
He asked with the first wrinkles backing up on his forehead. Uh-huh. They took me to an institution. But I had a long squint at how that door was all made with iron and scrammed round the corner.
Boyacs,
he muttered, and saw I was puzzled.
That means swamp socks. Between you and me, it's when you step in the shit so deep, it's like part of your clothing.
I realized I could learn a lot from this feller. I ain't going back, I said firmly, planting my foot. He looked me up and down before a sea change in his face told me he had come to some deep decision.
I reckon you ain't, at that. What's your name, if you got one?
Kimberly, but I go by Kim.
How to you do, Kimberly, who goes by Kim when she's playing cards. My name's Charles, but people around here call me Honey Bear. Beats me why they do it.
Stooping forward and down, he took my hand and we shook in an almost trust you kind of way, like we were signing to be partners in a gold mine. In his other hand, he held a moleskin hat with a couple of jay feathers peeking out the band like they were nesting.
I ain't in no position to look after you, girl, but I happen to know a lot of fine ladies who are living on their own after that damn cruel war. Pardon me for saying. If you're patient and will sit on a stool in the store for a little while, I'll make some calls and find someone real kind to take you in.
He took out a worn black notebook and thumbed through maybe a couple of 100 numbers that fine ladies give him. My memory clogs on me after that, but I fell on my feet, goes the saying, and was soon living with Miss Ivy, who owned the flower shop behind the end of the broad walk on the edge of town. I guess she felt lonely some nights, too. It could be my childhood was the best of any kid in town, with home bacon and the unsold flowers which she treaded in my hair come evening when we'd flip the sign on the door. Then one day, without warning, she just upped and died, like she was ready, tipping into a fresh bank of gardenia carp jasmine. I could never smell no jasmine after that without the waterworks starting. I always wanted to get hitched, and then I'd have a family of my own to look after, to put right what happened to me. I didn't want to fool around with town boys and get in trouble for joshing. Time passed like a chuck-away candle, and then I was all grown up with my tidy little flower business. Back then, I was never sure if men found me attractive or were just being polite, until one summer when they started paying me extra attention and trying to snag themselves a kiss. I was having none of that. Like Miss Ivy said, you gotta get married first, or they go and enlist and you never see hide nor hair of them Joes again. I remember it were Wednesday when I was heading up the broad walk. Wednesdays is when I delivered to department stores, see, and those were the days I was loaded up with blooms. That particular day, there were too many stems, and I dropped a stack of carnations by the curb, so stiff that I didn't lose a single petal. Then I looked up and read that old sign on the Marriage Bureau building, which must have been hammered in the same spot forever. Blow me, I thought as it took me back to my beginnings. I was 21 by then, running and expanding, concerned with no man to help, and figured there must be some without jobs who'd like fixing up. My mind was set on the spot, so I dropped off them flowers to a store, went back around to the same stretch of curb, turned, and went right in. Filling and signing the short paper was easy. I think they make it easier for girls because there's one of us in the lobby for every 50 men. "What kind of suitor do you want to meet?" the clerk asked me. Any. How the heck am I supposed to sort them out? That's your job." "When you say any, you don't discriminate?" "No, sir. None of my business. God took me out of the oven first." "What age you looking for?" "About 30, if that." "You are a charming and demure young lady with all the qualities to pick and choose any man you want in this world. Did you know that?" "No, sir, I didn't." "Would you like a man who is sensitive and polite, who might take you on a long string of dates with drinks and meals and flowers before he has the courage to ask for your hand? Or would you like to go in at, shall we say, the deep end?" "Sir, I have plenty enough flowers already. Give me that deep end and let's get this done." "In that case, we'll introduce you to Mr. Charles." "Hi, my name's Kim." Our date was in a public cafe, chaperoned in those days, until I waved away the old dear sent along with me from the agency. Mr. Charles was a cheerful, 30-ish, confident man, but with a dose of old-world wisdom behind those horse chestnut eyes. His laugh was a comforting timbre, his voice like the blanket back of my bed above the flower shop. There was something about him, a familiar, cigar-ish quality that made me want to trust him before thinking. There was something I couldn't place, though. Something screwy, and a feeling of shooting the breeze with an older brother, not like being on a date at all. I could see he'd left a hat on the chair off to his side, and I don't know why, but I had to get a better look at that hat. So I dropped a napkin on purpose and went under the table. The hat was moleskin, and I didn't know why. I weren't expecting nothing different, but it also had a titchy pair of old familiar blue jay feathers nestled in the slip bow ribbon. This had to be the same guy, but it couldn't be because he hadn't aged a darn day. "I'm sorry, I have to scoot," I told him as I stuck a few small coins under the saucer and made to head out.
"Oh, boyax,"
he muttered, and that curled up my toes in their tracks. I turned to stare him down. "That means swamp socks down in Haiti, don't it, honey bear? That's when you step in the shit so deep it's like part of your clothing."
"Kim? Kim? Kimberly? My, you've grown into a fine young woman."
"You don't look like you got any older at all. Are you a vampire?" He laughed, that beautiful tree-bouncing laugh that made you love him.
"No, Kim, I ain't no vampire. Just under an influence, if that's what you want to call it."
It was a long conversation, and one that took even longer to unpick before I believed any word of it. When Honeybear, or Charles, had first come here, he hadn't been alone on the boat. The other kids trying their luck across the water were getting kind of close and friendly, like boyfriend and girlfriend. But she'd caught a case of religion and didn't think tangling up was proper. For several years, the three had made their way like that, doing small jobs around town and taking opportunities. The teenage couple had an understanding of sorts, but the girl was wobbling in her mind. She was like a bird to corn when she heard the deepening charm a-growing in young Honeybear's voice. It was never really an engagement, not with no ring or letters, but he said it ended suddenly one summer afternoon in a heat wave. The other boy was doing okay, the richest out of the three of them. He'd been collecting and reselling old Coke bottles and was real busy in all the wash of heat with people getting a thirst on. He stank from sweat after a long day of this, and maybe that's what put that girl off him. They all lived in the hayloft in those days, Honeybear and the two others. When that kid Philippe came back on a sultry afternoon when it was easy to lose track of time, he pulled himself up the loft ladder, pushed up the flap, and came face to face with his shocked fiancée, with Charles shoving into her from behind. There was shouting and bitter scrapping. Then that was all over. They had a problem between them, and after that, Philippe went back to Haiti. The young couple were never at ease with themselves no more, keeping it going a few more years until they broke up the day a letter arrived for her from Haiti. Philippe had written to say he'd set up for Charles to be cursed with good old potent black magic. There was something more about witch doctors and a drawing of a crazy ceremony he'd gone to where goats wore candles on their horns. To prove what he was saying, Philippe added a small glass vial of pufferfish toxin, which is used by the voodoo priests out there to turn people dopey. So those witch doctors could tell suckers they had the know-how to raise the dead and make zombies, and you'd believe it for a while. The curse? Honey Bear had explained that too. The curse was for punishing those who were too keen on other men's women. The victim got to keep the same age and vigor, but only provided they went to bed with someone new every week, and by with, he meant with, not wanting to offend any of my sensibilities. If he failed to find a girl to do it with him, the man would age quick and die in a knotted agony of hurt and retching, like it scared old honey to tell it. Of course, if they slept with someone they wanted to keep, the curse would make them walk away come morning because they was obliged to find a new girl soon. So show me who's going to put up with a bad idea like that. No one was allowed to help the guy to end that curse neither. How, I wondered, had Charles managed to get a hold of so many women to keep himself alive?
Kim, please listen to me now. Don't you be going to that agency.
Why, Honey Bear?
I know you want to get married real bad because your body is calling, but that ain't no way to do it. The style of men that go to marriage agencies are the ones that don't want to get married.
What are you saying, Charles? That don't make no sense at all.
They go to marriage bureaus when they is already married and they want a girl quick and dirty. See, they know that a woman only goes to a marriage agency if she's desperate for the company of a man. They know that she is going to have to come across and show them the goods so they can see what they is getting. The man and woman make a date and they think each other has working potential, but he ain't so serious. Then they go off someplace where she won't be recognized and spend the day undressing and fucking. Next day, the man goes off back to the agency and says, "Whoa, boys, line me up another." The girl waits for a call that never comes.
That's what you've been doing, Honey Bear?
Some 40 years, sorry to say. Could be longer. Some of them recommend me. I get messages from women who have never heard of no bureau. I reckon they want that experience I got to offer. Hey, don't cry, Kim. Not over me. I know I disappointed you. Strange thing is, I've had enough. I'm serious, Kim. I've had enough of this life, and I'm tired and worn after so long. After all of them poor women, just to stay alive, it's got to be the same. Jaded, that's the word, Kim. And I is scared of the pain when I call it enough. Please, you gotta help me die and end this. I tried trying redemption before, but the pain is like roasting and peeling in fire. It ain't about being brave.
In the end, we found a way. Honey Bear took the full 50-year vial of Philippe's pufferfish toxin. He waited a week or so, bombed out of this world, unable to move or feel nothing. I gave him water from an eye drop rubber and waited by his side those days till his eyes fair rolled. In the last minute when I knew he was slipping, I held his hand so he wasn't all alone, laid back in the dark and quiet of the room. I kissed him as he passed away, going to the final rest he so wanted. Then I felt a chill, tingle, leave his hand and run through mine. Restless energy twisting inside my arm, with devils running up my sleeve and into my body. After the funeral, which was well attended by the widest range of crushed fine ladies you ever set your crying eyes on, we laid old Honey Bear to rest. It was then that the dear old black magic grabbed me, and I did recall too late that no one is allowed to help in escaping that curse. I'm ashamed to be the one to say it, but I suddenly had to go to bed with a man. Didn't have to be a bedroom even. I couldn't live without the passion of taking that hot thing. What was I becoming? Miss Kimberly, you are without doubt our best advertisement, if I can put it that way. Our concern is that you only ever see any of our gentlemen clients once. He was about my age and uncomfortable because he'd never had a conversation like this with a girl before. Are they complaining? I asked James, the junior account director of the marriage bureau, who didn't know where to hide his eyes. Not complaining, no. It's just that your pattern of throughput is something we associate more with our male clients, some of whom we have turned away in the past for being uninterested in marriage. An issue of equality of treatment has arisen. Are you closing my account with you? 'Cause I'm doing what the men do. No, by no means no. Please, be assured. I find agencies in cities along the coast contacted me in hope of encouraging you onto their books. There have been, I am bound to tell you, some suggestions from our members of excesses to the detriment of your reputation, almost accusations. If you were to relocate, it might go better for you, if I may speak frankly. I, too, find your presence distracting. Did I raise your interest, Jamie? Indeed. To the perpendicular, but we have strict rules of conduct. It would be improper? Is that it? An approach to a client by staff would be... You are quite the catch, and we have a great many single men on our list, as you know. Even the ones cast aside by you are envied. What I want to know is, can you send me a different good-looking man every week without fail for the rest of this year? I think we could provide them easily, if that is what you wish, he replied, tugging his collar to bring air and poking his spectacles. Do you have a key to your office door on that desk? Yes, Miss Kimberly. May I ask why? Is there a breeze? What day is it, James? Thursday. Your most recent introduction was on, so that's 4, 5, 6... The key, if you wouldn't mind, James.